You know, uh, the title of this video is very unique because it really hits heartstrings for me. And even though the subject matter is along the lines of, did you ever, play an instrument, then you had to stop, because of life. Well, actually, this could be really, you can put this conversation towards anything. I mean, anything that you loved to do when you were younger, you started to do, especially on a very creative path, or maybe you wanted to be a doctor, or maybe you wanted to be an architect, or maybe you wanted to be, a world-class mechanic, or whatever, and then all of a sudden something happens and everything that you thought your life was going to be about abruptly changes. And in most cases, it's just life happens. Recently, I had a conversation with a couple of people that I had no idea. These are people that are neighbors here and stuff that I had no idea. I've known them for a couple of years, that they were any bit musically inclined, but yet come to find out that all three of them at one point growing up had encountered, playing an instrument. And two of them were like jazz band. One of them was a reed player. I think she said clarinet and oboe. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. Oboe's my favorite, one of my favorite instruments in the orchestra anyhow. So I went on and listened to them a little bit. I was really curious. And then they, wow, where did you start? What was it? He goes, well, they were all about my age. So, I'm 60, so give or take, 10 years. That's in an era, if you would, back in the 1900s in the United States, where there was music available. There were instruments in elementary schools, junior high schools, high schools for you to take advantage of. There was music courses, music classes, and it was very much a big part of the education process in public schools. Now I think it doesn't even exist anymore. But each one of them had told me that they had a unique thing happen. Unfortunately, one of them was saying that their father had passed away, and he had to end up being like the dad of the family. And then the other two were talking about just the trajectory of life, and them kind of realizing that this wasn't going to be something they'd be able to make money doing per se. And then life kicks in. That's when you get the house, but you need a job or anything. And so what happens to the instrument in most cases is that it ends up in a case that you take from home to home the older you get, and it ends up under a couch behind a chair collecting dust. And I bring this up also because I just was toying around with my ukulele here, and I realized how much dust I had in it because I hadn't picked it up for quite a while, even though every day I'm doing something in the studio, be it on a keyboard, bass, or guitar or something. Still yet, this lovely little instrument hasn't gotten any love for me. So there's no two ways about it. On my Patreon channel, I had kind of put out this question, and I just kind of wanted to expand on it and kind of ask you guys. I mean, how many of you have ever started like an instrument and was really loving it and stuff, and then something happened? I mean, some people just lose passion too. That's cool beans too. You tried it, it didn't suit you. You just made a different direction, but you were doing something, you were really into it and stuff, and then it just, you had everything going, even built a little studio or something and starting to write music, and then life happened. And so how many of you guys have gone through that? And like I said earlier, that doesn't, if you want to answer that question, doesn't necessarily have to be just about music. If you are a painter or a ceramics, you throw clay or whatever the case is, or you were starting to learn, architect, and you just couldn't. You see your architect chair and your table and your tools there, but you haven't had a chance to sit down. I think where I want to go with this is, as difficult as it may be, even myself looking at this collecting dust for the last 6 months, Jesus, this thing dusty. There was a little bit of that battle. Well, I could pick it up tomorrow. I'll play a little tomorrow. Well, I'm not going to. Finally, I picked it up today, and I started playing with it, and I was going, wow, I just forgot how cool the instrument was and everything. But the most important thing for me was all of a sudden 20 minutes had gone by while I was kind of like, reconfiguring my fingers, smaller fretboard, and realizing that my technique wasn't what it used to be for the ukulele and stuff. So I was like, oh, this is. But then 20 minutes had gone by, and that's 20 minutes that I didn't have to kind of let my mind rinse in anything else in the world in a meditative kind of sense. I was so in love with what I was just kind of toying around here, and just, you know, this is making music, you know, so that's being very creative. And you know, I think where I want to end this with is, because this is the positive channel, is I begrudged myself some joy here, because for myself, I have to say I was a little lazy, and I don't know, and of course I'm surrounded by music and stuff, but I'm going to start taking this guy around, and, you know, on the road, in the car, to the grandkids' house and stuff like that, and just have a little bit of fun. I think it's really important that if you do have that instrument, or architect tools, or mechanic tools or something, and you get out and you just woodshed for a while, it is so good for our heads. It is so good for our peace of mind. Just I don't care if you want to use the word distraction, you know, we're not all Buddhist monk Zen, you know, spiritual meditation people that can just dial into that zero zone, you know. And if the distraction is beauty, you know, what the heck's the problem with that? Pick up that old instrument, take it out of the box. The strings might be busted if it's an old guitar, or you may need a new reed in it, you know, if it's a reed instrument, or whatever the case is. But, you know, at some point in your life, that instrument really meant a lot to you. And sometimes you don't want to. I mean, I met somebody once about 3 years ago that couldn't play the violin anymore. Not that she couldn't play the violin anymore, it just reminded her of her father. And when he used to, you know, so sometimes it can be other reasons why you're not picking up that instrument. But I just think that if at one point in your life you've had the opportunity to engage in something that makes sound, it could be drums, it could be guitar, bass, Philharmonic instruments, it could be whatever it is that you want to be in order to do this thing. You know, just you may have stopped, but you didn't quit, you know, because it's still in here. And if you made it this far in the video, you're probably thinking, yeah, I do have that old guitar, and I should just take a look at it and see what it sounds like. Maybe I should just fix it up, you know. And it brings back some memories. It'll bring back memories in here, and maybe some smiles of, you know, when you were younger and what it used to be like to play. My stepfather, I was at my house recovering on my rotator cuff surgery, and I saw him outside. He's going, oh man, he's getting his old guitar. I haven't seen him play for a long time. And he played. And I'm going to close the video, share with you that I caught this. I snuck up on him while he was playing. And this is my stepfather. He's been around more than half of my life, so he's a very dear man and stepfather to me. And he was a band member too in the 50s, but he had to stop too. He had his own story, you know, but he still played a little bass and a little guitar. Anyhow, hope you have a wonderful day. This is my stepfather, Simmons, and we'll just end with that. All right, guys, take care. Aloha. Ay,